Welcome back to the Coach Tim Beck Show, presented by CBL Electric. Eddie Lomchek and Coach Beck live from Chatter's Restaurant and Bar in Pittsburgh. Good takeaway there for Nate Dreiling and the Gorilla D. More on that in a moment. Time to draw for another breakfast certificate at Fat Daddy's. Dine-in only, drink included. Coach Beck dealing in there. Jack Lane, come on down. Winner of the free breakfast at Fat Daddy's. Popular pick here in the house, so enjoy that. He needs it, and we'll have one more later, the grand prize drawing a little bit later, so be sure and get down here and take advantage of that. Also out of the second break on the show each week and Mondays throughout the school year, the Gorilla Nation Mobile Fan Club Trivia Contest sponsored by Vital Signs. And if you're a member of the Gorilla Nation Mobile Fan Club texting service, you can take part on this on Mondays throughout the school year. Also player of the game voting during football and basketball season. And tonight's question, Solomon Watkins, 3 touchdowns in his first career start against Emporia, named the last Gorilla running back to score 4 touchdowns in a game. And if you're a member of the texting service, you'll get that question texted to you, multiple choice ballot, and send your choice back in if there's more than one correct texter, I guess. Dan and the computer has a way to separate that out, and Dan will let us know the winner a little bit later in the show. Tonight's winner will get a pair of tickets to the Family Day game with William Jewell September the 24th. So we'll look forward to that. Coach, play we just heard after you guys had scored and Emporia gets the ball back. Third play was that play there. They tried to sneak the back out and Nate over to cover it. Nice rangy kid, great instincts and all that. So takeaways, we talked about that on postgame, and you're +5 in 2 weeks in the turnover margin.
Yeah, that's we'd like to continue to kind of work up the scale with that. We haven't been where we're at right now. We haven't been there the last couple of years, and we're doing a good job of really getting some guys in position to get some turnovers. Had a couple of great strips, had a turnover, got a turnover back after a turnover, and so we've had some good things happen. But I think a lot of it is the speed that we're playing at. Defensively, you're going to cause turnovers when you play as fast as we're playing.
Yeah, unfortunately, 2 plays later, you give it back. But during the return, I don't know who put a paw on the ball. It pops up in the air, and Ty Henry, backtracking lineman, plucks it out of the air. You don't see that very often. But, Aaron McConnell brought up on the broadcast, that's why as a lineman, whether or not you think you're into play, find a way to hustle downfield and at least be around the ball.
Yeah, that's exactly right. Tyler Smith, our center, our redshirt freshman center who started the game, actually popped it out, and then Ty Henry was able to make a quick decision, thinking maybe moving Ty Henry to tie it in as quick as he made this decision with great hands that he had. So, no, they did a good job of getting the ball back for us.
Ty thought he had his first career touchdown later when Solomon lunged to the end zone and the ground caught the fumble, and Ty was there to pick it up. But unfortunately, nothing out of it. You did get 3 more first downs, 8 plays, then a field position punt. Not a big night for Jake Craig, but the other night, a pretty good night kicking it inside the 20.
Yeah, and I think he'll continue to improve. This is really his first year as a punter for Pittsburgh State, and he's coming off an injury, and in preseason camp he's had some times where he really bombed them, and I think eventually we'll really be excited about what Jake can do in the punting game.
Well, that's, you're just looking for that field position punt, if you will, at that point. It pins Emporia at their own 10. They go 3 and out, only a 33-yard punt. That's where it was nearly blocked. I think Paul Robinson had the pressure there. Line drive kick, 6-yard return. You're set up at the 31. 6 plays later, Solomon scores. And, now 2 times in 3 possessions, you put together drives, and most of it on the ground. So with your running game, that's, a good way to control the game.
Yeah, there's no question. We have worked extremely hard on improving that, and we've, again, like you said earlier, we've got several backs that we can put in there, and backs can do different things, and Eric Love hasn't carried it really at all this season, but he'll get an opportunity as well, and we don't have a ton of backs, but the backs that we suit up and travel with, we've got good quality backs, and we feel good about all of them.
Good versatility. Love, the only senior, by the way, among that crew. You mentioned Tyler Smith. You lose your starting center in practice during the week, so you roll him out there. You see a couple of high snaps. You talk about a baptism under fire against an experienced team with a good physical defensive front. How did he grade out for you?
He did good. He did pretty well. He's that was our biggest concern. It really wasn't the blocking part of it, the assignments. He did a great job as far as knowing his assignments, but didn't have too many mental errors. But we were concerned because it's different. It's different having to come off full speed and then you got some big guy across from you that's, is going to knock the heck out of you, and then you got to be able to get a good snap at the same time. So he had a lot on his plate, and boy, throwing a freshman in there for the first game, I thought he just did real well.
And how much do you expect him, not that he's going to be a first-team all-conference player, but just a case of the nerves or whatever it may be, surely he'll be a lot more comfortable this week.
Well, he's got to be a lot more comfortable, and it's a good thing we got a week under our belt, because as we're watching Truman, they like to bring people, and they like to bring pressure up the middle and do some things. So he'll have to be on his toes, but having a game under his belt will definitely help him for this week.
He's a kid from Sand Springs, Oklahoma, and so is Matt Anderson. I don't know if they both went to that high school, but how helpful has it been getting schools like that to come to your team camp to get a look at some kids?
Well, again, that's I think it's a huge reason why we were able to get Nate Dreiling to come to Pitt State, and having those guys in the summer at team camps has been extremely beneficial to be able to watch those kids practice and see how they handle themselves for 3 days and see them in helmets and shoulder pads and see what they can do. I mean, we get firsthand experience, and it's during a time where you wouldn't be able to go watch them anywhere else, but if you have them on your campus, you can really evaluate them and be able to talk to them and see what kind of kids they are and see if they're kids that you think will fit into your program. So the team camp thing for us has been an extremely helpful thing for our university.
And on top of that, they're going against other good competition, but how helpful is it to see, if you will, what kind of practice player a kid is and other than just physical ability?
Yeah, there's no doubt. You want to see how they handle themselves and if they're a leader on their team at practice, and if they're at the front of the line, and if they're getting their group ready to go. And because at team camp they get 7 practices in 3 days, and by the time you get to practice number 6, they're pretty shot. So you get a chance to see how they're going to perform in those practice times and see if if they're going to step it up and get things done.
Watkins in from 3 yards, and then Emporia at their own 19, bringing that kickoff out. And another good night, I thought, for Jake Craig, driving that ball into the end zone.
Yeah, Jake kicked off extremely well. Once again, we could maybe get a little bit better on a placement, but we did pooch one that we got them to take, fair catch, which is, again, it was extremely important at the time. So, again, I think the kicking off and punting duties are a good thing for him right now as he's coming off this injury, and he's been kicking the ball off pretty good.
Well, they go 3 and out from their own 19. A better punt. You're at your own 36. You have a 9-play drive, 20-yard field goal for Chase McCoy. That's tough, and there might have been a penalty in there that disrupted things, but here's Chase McCoy, a guy I know you like as a place kicker, so I don't know how Jake's doing with his injury to get better there, but Chase McCoy's perfect on the year for you.
Yeah, he's done a really good job of stepping up, and both of them will kick field goals and extra points in practice. But, as of right now, Chase is very, very solid, and he's doing a really good job. So there's really not a reason to look at doing anything different than what we're doing the way we're doing it right now.
Well, and then you get them to go 3 and out. That's where we were, talking on the broadcast about you get in this situation. They have the ball, 3.5 minutes left. They only have 1 timeout left. I think you had 2 or 3. I'm sure at that point you're thinking 3 and out. Sure enough, you get it, 39-yard punt, a little bit on the return. You're set up at their 40 in the third play. You hook up Dickey to Castaneda. So for the second straight game, you execute pretty well down the stretch and get a late first-half score.
Yeah, and the late first-half score I thought was an extremely important play in the game. And Coach Philpott, it was his call all the way, and he said, let's do this. And Coach Rampy and I and Coach Wells, Coach Pierce were all on the phones together, and Neil had that suggestion, and again, you saw what they did the second play of the game, how much they jumped it, and they may be thinking at the time, let's do something short and try to get in field goal range and see if we can't get a field goal. So it was a really good time to kind of take a look at the short throw and then throw it back in behind them.
And Andrew Castaneda, a kid from Caldwell, Idaho, that's here from a junior college in Arizona, was impressive in the spring, and a lot of people saw him in the spring game. But you told me last week a little bit of an ankle injury. He was obviously okay, maybe not exactly 100%, but a kid that seems to have good size and yet can stretch the field as well.
Andrew had a great spring for us, and he's going to be a quality player for the Gorillas. But we got to Tuesday, he didn't practice much. Wednesday, he still wasn't feeling great. Thursday, he went a little bit, felt better on Friday, and didn't really get as much practice time as we had hoped for. But he kind of got better throughout the week, and that's one thing we talk to our players about. It's so important. We put them in different jerseys to recognize who's got what problems, and if you're in a yellow jersey, you're not to do anything contact-wise or anything other than maybe do our dynamic warm-up. But if you're in a blue jersey, then you have limited contact and you can do limited things according to what Phil Carr kind of tells us what they can and can't do. So, we put those in their jerseys, and we've got way too many people right now in yellow and blue jerseys. We've got to get all those guys healthy, and so that's something we talked about. It's so important for us to have really quality practices on Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday. Then Friday's basically a walkthrough, making sure we're getting everything mentally taken care of. But Tuesday's going to be a for sure full pad practice. Thursday will always be a for sure helmet and shoulder pad practice. Wednesday can kind of go either way depending on what kind of work we get done on Tuesday.
How tough is it to know how hard to push them during the week? Because Coach Broyles used to always talk about once the season starts and you have 10 games in conference or whatever, you have really 2 real hard practices, and Thursday some polishing and special teams. But how hard is it? How fine a line between contact and letting them heal but keeping them ready?
Well, it's a really fine line. It's just like last week. We have been very good in the rush game for a long time because we line up and are physical at practice and we get after each other, and that's a great thing. But on the other hand, too, we're lined up in middle drill and doing inside run stuff, and that's when we lost Aaron Kolich last Tuesday. So, boy, it really, you're concerned about those things. You want to make sure that you still practice physical so that you'll play physical on the weekend. But it does concern you, especially when we've got 3 or 4 of our offensive linemen that are out right now. And so we have to kind of be careful about what we do and maybe just trim it down a little bit.
In that half after you score, they get the ball. They're pinned at their own 12 after a penalty on the kickoff. Minute 23 and a half, they have 1 timeout. They would end up on your half of the field. I don't know if you want to call it a straight prevent, but that drive almost symbolic of the whole game against them. You had to be willing to bend, but hopefully don't break.
Yeah, we were hoping to pin them right there again and maybe get another opportunity, right at that point. So we were going to take some timeouts if we could have stopped them, but they were able to get a couple of first downs. So then we just, played good defense and made sure that we had enough people back on the last play of the game.
Well, 24-7 at half felt a lot better than you did after the first couple possessions, but second half still to come and more good things from both sides of the football. We need to take another break. We'll come back and rehash that second half on the Coach Tim Beck Show, presented by CDL Electric.